Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Jessica McDonald. I am a knitting pattern designer and I'm coming to you from a tiny town in the mountains of Idaho. It is a very snowy day today, November the 30th. It is like 3 something, maybe close to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so hopefully it doesn't get too dark today while I'm filming because it's been kind of dim all day thanks to the clouds. I'm looking out the window, is why my eyes are over there. I'm watching the snow. It's been snowing all day long and it's going to be even worse tomorrow. We're supposed to get 7 inches all together today and tomorrow, so it's a very snowy middle of the week for us here in Idaho. Well, this part of Idaho anyway. So if you would like to find my patterns or my newsletter sign up or anything else, my blog, there'll be a link in the description box down below here. There might be a little drop down arrow on this side that you have to click on to get the description box to drop down. It should be above the comments. Depending on what device you're watching this on, the position of that description box can move around and it can be kind of hard to find sometimes, but it's there somewhere. My 3-year-old is here today. He's just, you can see the guest bed right here. He's just standing on it looking out the window too and playing with his little stuffed kittens. So you might hear him in the background or see him in the background a little bit. He may also just leave. There he goes. Bye, Aiden. My older 3 children are at Grandma's house today, so it'll be a little bit quieter. He likes it when they're gone because then he has the whole house to himself. He has everything to himself. He can do whatever he wants. And he doesn't generally want too much attention from me because that would ruin his totally free day. So he's gonna go do something. I may have to go check on him. Although I have put all the chocolate chips on top of the fridge now, so we should be. You found a cowbell. That'll be fun. So what I'm wearing, this is my Ruska sweater. It is a pattern I released 2 years ago. I think it's 2 years ago. Maybe he'll stay out of this room. So this is a pattern I released 2 years ago. It is a top down in the round colorwork yoke sweater. It has colorwork that goes down below the sleeve divide. There's a little bit on the body and a little bit on the sleeves, which makes it super fun. This one is a lot of fun to knit because you move through all the different motifs, so it's constantly changing and you're constantly knitting to see what it looks like on your next row. There's a lot of really addictive, just one more round, addictiveness to it. So this one's a lot of fun to knit. It's also not very hard, even though there's 3 colors involved. Oh, he's gonna come back with cowbell. Even though there's 3 colors involved, you only ever knit with 2 colors in a round, so it's not too difficult. So if you are newer to color work, you should be able to do this one too. The pattern is on Ravelry and my website. There will be a link in the description box below. What else do you have? Oh, he has a Christmas ornament and a cowbell, but the Christmas ornament is just plastic, so I'm not too worried. So this sweater is knit in Barrett Wool Co. Wisconsin Woolen Spun, the worsted weight, and it is a really nice yarn. I cannot recommend it enough. You can see that it is in excellent condition. It's 2 years old, has been worn probably hundreds of times, has never been depilled, has never needed it, and it's lovely and soft. This is, I mean, it's not like a baby soft yarn like merino would be, but I think it's soft. It's very nice yarn. Look at the elbows even. They're not even really showing anywhere. Like seriously. It's excellent condition. This yarn is amazing. I highly recommend it. It's Barrett Wool Co. Wisconsin Woolen Spun. There's a fingering weight and a worsted weight. This one's worsted weight. So that's what I'm wearing. And Aiden is wearing the same t-shirt he wore yesterday because he pulled it out of the hamper and insisted on putting it back on. So that's what we're wearing today. The very next pattern I'm going to release is this one. These are the alder mittens. I'm sorry about the cowbell. Hang on, I'm going to try to take it away from him. I traded him my little jar of stitch markers so he can play with those instead of the cowbell. So these are the older mittens. This is the very next pattern I am going to release. They are also in my forest book, which looks like this. So you can buy the book on my website if you want to. But they will be coming out as an individual pattern next Monday, December 6th. Oh, I'm putting it on the wrong hand. This is a really good pattern for Christmas gift knitting. So I wanted to release it before Christmas. It is in 5 sizes. So here's both mittens. It's got this vertical stripe pattern on the palm and on the thumb. It matches. It's got this little line. Is it possible? This little line of color work flows. It's the side. You can see the side has that. It just flows around the thumb, so the thumb grows out very organically. It's got a star on the back and this vertical stripe pattern on the palm. It's in 5 different sizes. This is the 4th size, so there's 1 larger size and 3 smaller sizes. The star motif changes a little bit based off of the size of the mitten because I'll have more or less space. Some sizes only have a single column of stars. And yeah, so this one will be out next Monday. If you like this pattern and you want to, that's your Christmas ornament. And if you would like to receive a subscriber exclusive discount when this pattern is released, sign up for my newsletter. I offer 2 discounts when I release a new pattern. One is just for the general public, and then one is for my newsletter subscribers. And the one for my newsletter subscribers is more just as a thank you for letting me jump into your inbox. So that'll be out on Monday, December 6th. So sign up for my newsletter so you can see that. I do not have any finished objects today. I only have 2 progress to show you. One of which is this shawl, which it's in the middle of a row. So this is kind of taking a little while to work on. Here it is in all of its glory. This is how much yarn I have left. So I had 5 skeins, and I'm trying to make the biggest shawl I possibly can with 5 skeins of yarn, which means I've been kind of fiddling around with it a little bit to see just how big I can make it with the 5 skeins, which is really hard to do with a shawl because it's hard to calculate exactly how big it's going to be because all of the stitches are sitting at an angle and I cannot know what any of those angles are, so I cannot calculate the exact measurements of the shawl, which is kind of driving me crazy, honestly. Here it is. I'm going to, I'm in the middle of a row and this is all I have left. So I'm going to rip back a little bit. I think I'm going to rip back to right here and then do a garter stitch border and bind off because I don't have enough left unless I rip all the way back. Oh yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm just going to rip back a little bit and knit a border and bind off so that I can maximize my yarn. So hopefully next time this will be done and you'll be able to see it in its glory and not just in some shapeless blob. So it's that shawl. But the main thing I want to tell you about is this sweater, which I will remove gently from my basket. So this is, I talked about it a few episodes ago, I don't remember exactly which one, but this is my sweater that I'm knitting in unspun yarn. So this one is, there are 2 natural colors. It's not the whitest color. I want to say it's Oscuro Natural. This is Wool Dreamers Manchelopi. So here's the plate of the light color, and here is the plate of the dark color. I'm still on my first plates of both of them, so that's nice. And here is, I'm being gentle because I don't want to pull on this long strand here and break it. So here's the sweater. It's on a 40-inch cable, but I probably should have put it onto 2 cables before I did this. So here it is. So these are little pine boughs. Oops, sorry, my ringer's on. This grandma sending a picture of my children at her house. So there's these little pine bows dancing along around here. And then here, when I was originally designing this, I saw snowflakes when I was doing this. But then as I'm working on the sweater, now all I can see are little kitty cat paws in the snow. Like there's a little kitty cat just walking around right here. Or if you don't like cats, they can be snowflakes. But I don't think there's very many people who don't like cats. We have 5 cats. And so we have a lot of little kitty cat footprints in the snow. That's what it looks like to me. It's just little kitty cat footprints. Now we're coming down here and there's gonna be a big star around the bottom, or I guess a big snowflake, depending on how you view them. I'm looking at it like a snowflake, but I mean, you could call it a star. A big snowflake. And then there's going to be, just like in Ruska, there's going to be a little bit of color work down the sleeves and down the body. Just a little bit, not a ton, just to kind of blend the big star down into the rest of the body and just keep it going. So there it is. This is not going to be this big. This collar is going to be folded down, so it's a double collar, like so. This yarn is too fragile to pull on much when you're casting on. I originally tried a German twisted cast on, but that was just too much manipulation and it broke. So I had to switch to a long tail cast on, which worked just fine. If I tried to do a provisional cast on to pick up later, so that I could, you know, knit the live edge of stitches to the bottom of the live edge of stitches here, that would not have worked. I don't think there's any way I could have taken out a provisional cast on without just completely destroying the whole, like just ripping everything apart, breaking all kinds of yarn. So I'm gonna have to sew it down later. I thought about trying to just like pick up the edge of the cast on stitches and knitting it together down with the bottom row of the ribbing, or the first plain round of the body, but that was not going to work either. That would be something to try with a normal spun yarn, but not with this one. This one is just too fragile for that. So I'm going to fold it down and sew it down. I haven't done it yet. I'm not too impatient to do that. Although I do think it also looks pretty cute with the tall ribbing. So I might just leave it like this and then try it on and see if I want to like have a little mock neck instead of a folded over neck, but I'll probably just fold it over because I like that. I like that cozy fold over look. So this is what it will look like. Here. It's kind of bunched up, so it's not quite, can't quite see it all the way, but pretty much can see it. I'm making size 39.5 inches. I have a bust of about 34.5 to 35. So that's 4+ inches of positive ease for me. So it's gonna fit me nice and loose. This sweater has about 2 inches of positive ease on me. So it's gonna be a little bit loose. I think I'm gonna knit it a little bit cropped. Not super duper cropped, but just like a high hip length. Which I have a very, very long torso. I'm 5'10" tall. I'm sorry if you work in centimeters, I'm not gonna do the math. I'm very tall for a woman. And my torso is disproportionately long on top of that. So when I'm knitting sweaters, I have to knit for a really long time. Like there are some people who are like, you know, 12 inches is a hip length sweater for me, and I've still got quite a ways to go when I hit 12 inches. So I'm thinking that I will knit this to my high hip, and then I can wear this sweater on top of my dresses, because I have a lot of linen dresses and I wear them all year round, summer and winter. I like to buy, one of my favorite things is to buy sleeveless ones, so that it's very comfortable to just throw a sweater on top of them because you don't have the sleeves bunching up. So I think that I will knit it to high hip length because that will look nice with my sweaters. It won't be super duper cropped, but it will still be a nice length to wear with my dresses. I said sweaters before, didn't I? And that will look really nice. It'll be cute and cozy And I'll have my linen dress and my wool sweater and my wool leggings and my wool socks on and my boots. And I'll just look very cozy, and I'll be very cozy. I'll look good. I mean, if that's your style. We just, this last weekend was Thanksgiving weekend in the United States, and I went to my family's house, and I was told a lot of honest opinions about my personal style. They told me they were going to give, my mom and sisters told me they were going to give me a makeover, but they didn't say they were going to pay for it, so. Anyway, I'm not buying clothes because I have to build a sheep barn. So, I think it'll look cute. I have a lot of green linen dresses. I'll pop it on over a green linen dress. And yeah, I will love it. I think it looks awesome. I have always been a little bit dorky. That's just like my normal default. Please buy my patterns, they look really cool. Now, I've always been a little bit dorky. That's kind of my default. I'm not one of those super stylish, fashionable, cool people, so I've never felt any pressure to, I've never felt any internal pressure to dress any way that I didn't want to, because I've always been the odd looking one. I was homeschooled, which was probably part of it. Obviously I survived it. So it doesn't bother me when people don't like my style, and it doesn't make me feel self-conscious or like I need to buy new clothes or uncomfortable in any way. Like, you don't have to like how I dress. This is how I dress. And I like it, which is, oh, the stitch markers are on the floor now, which I think is cute. And I'm assuming you also think it's cute because you're here watching me talk about how I dress most of the time. So that's just, I think it's funny because I don't care. I like it. You don't have to like it. I like it. Hi, Mom and sisters, if you're watching. My tea has gone cold. I'll have to go get another hot cup of it when I'm done here so that I can knit some more with my hot tea. So this is the Winter Woods sweater. I don't know if I told you the name yet, but it's going to be called Winter Woods. I told my husband that I decided to call it Winter Forest, and he gave me the side eye and said, aren't you getting a little carried away with the forest names? And I was like, okay, how about Winter Woods? And he said that was a little bit better, so it's going to be called the Winter Woods. And yes, I am a little carried away with the forest things because I just really like the forest. So anyway, it's my personal style. It's my brand image is the forest. So this will be called Winter Woods. You've got some pine boughs and little animal footprints in the snow, and there's going to be a big snowflake and some little snow drifting down. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be super cute. I really love it. I cannot wait till it's done because I do want to wear it this winter. I am planning to release this pattern in February, which means I really need to get cooking on knitting this up. I've got the pattern entirely written already. How I do it is I'll swatch and I'll create my chart and I'll swatch and I'll get all the math I need, and then I will grade the entire, all of the sizes of the sweater from 32 down to up to 60 some odd. I think this one goes through 64. Inch chest circumference, I'll grade all of them down to, the cuff circumference, the whole thing. I'll grade the whole thing, then I'll write the whole thing, and then I will knit it. So when I'm knitting something, I am basically the first test knitter. Sort of. It's not like I knit something and take some notes along the way and then try to write and grade the pattern after. I do all the grading, then all the writing, because you can't. We're going to go on a tangent. I'm going to pause my camera and restart it because I'm almost out of my 20 minutes of recording, and then we're going to go on a tangent about grading. So grading is very important. And why do you have to grade before you finish your design? In my opinion, I know there are a lot of designers who are going to disagree with this. There are a lot of people who use a grader, like it's a service offered by a tech editor or some other professional in the knitting world where they grade the sweater. So the designer will make a sample in their size and then send it to the grader for the grader to do all the numbers for the rest of the sizes. But the problem is that your design might change based on the amount of fabric that you have for the different sizes. So if you have a colorwork yoke sweater, how deep your yoke is going to vary based on the sizes. Usually the smaller sizes are a shallower yoke, and then as you go larger and for larger sizes, the yoke gets deeper. How deep that yoke is, let me get my hair out of the way, you have this space here that you're going to put your motif in. If you design a motif that looks good on one single size, say a size 34, because a lot of designers are rather small, how is it going to look on a size 64? It might look like the dainty little necklace, even though your size 34, it looked proportional and nice. So you have to consider the amount of fabric there is in all of the sizes so that you can make sure that the design looks good in all of the sizes, and you have to make sure that every size has basically the same design feel to it. Like, you can't have the largest size be an entirely different sweater from the smallest size. They have to be the same design, they have to feature, like they have to have the same feel to it, the same look to it. You can't just add giant panels of stockinette in random places. You can't just like, if you're making a cabled sweater, we're going to get paper now. I don't have a pen handy, I have a pencil. We almost had to use a highlighter. So, I designed a cabled sweater, and it's a drop shoulder because that's easy for me to draw. And I'm a really, really bad artist. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I don't generally sketch this part of my design process because I'm a really bad drawer. I'm going to erase the sleeves because we don't need those actually. There's no way my hands can put on paper what's living in my brain. So this is our size small. Can you see it, or does it? Yeah. Oh, I'm going to make these lines darker so that you can actually see it. How about that for an idea? Now you can see it. Okay, so here's our size small, and we have this big cable that takes up pretty much all of the neckline. So here's the side of the neck and the side of the neck. You have that big cable that's taking up probably a good half of the front, but then you make the bigger size, and the bigger size comes out here. We're just going to make heavy dashes for the bigger size. This is like one shoulder goes up and one shoulder goes down. So just use your imagination. So your biggest size is those dashed lines. Do you see how the cable that was most of the front on the smallest size is now just a dinky tiny thing on the biggest size? That doesn't work. In my opinion, that doesn't work. So you have to come up with something. Are you going to make your cable bigger? Are you going to change the scale of it. Are you going to add, like you could add a little cable over here and a little cable over here, and then on your larger size you could just add repeats of the little cable and that would look nice. What are you going to do for that larger size? That's not a question that a grader can answer. That's only a question that the designer can answer, and that they have to really seriously consider as they're writing the pattern. Otherwise, you can't call it a size-inclusive pattern because you haven't actually made the same design for the largest size, because it's going to look so different. The scale of it is going to be so different. It's not going to be the same. Anyway, so in my opinion, if you're going to design sweaters, you need to grade them as one of the very, very first steps in the design process, so that you can consider the design needs of every single size as you're going through them, so that you can make sure that all of your sweaters, all of the sizes are the same sweater. So if you take something, like if you take something that's just plain stockinette, send it to the grader, it's just plain stockinette. There's no design element to it that needs to be, you know, altered for the sizes. But if you take something that has a lot of design features in it and you send it to a grader, then you have to expect that grader to make a lot of design decisions along the way of, are you going to add cables? Are you going to put texture there? Are you going to make the colorwork yoke deeper? Are you going to lower the colorwork on the yoke so that it sits in the right spot for a deeper yoke? Those are a lot of questions that I personally don't know that a grader is the best person to, or if the grader is even going to do that, if that's even inside of the scope of their work. So that's something the designer needs to do. So if you want to design size-inclusive patterns, you really need to be on top of the grading, because the whole grading process is a design choice after design choice after design choice in every row of my Excel spreadsheet. All the way across all of the sizes, I'm making design choices every single step of the way. So I can't outsource that to a grader. Like, they would not be able to make those decisions at all. So let's go back to Winter Woods here, where I launched into my grading tangent. Oops, I about lost it. That would have broken my yarn. So you see all my motifs here? I have my row gauge, which tells me how many rows I need to get a certain depth of yoke. All of the yokes, all the sizes are going to split for sleeves on the exact same row on this sweater, which means it's going to be a little bit deeper for the smaller sizes. That's just what this design needs. So I had the number of rows. I needed to keep it within reason, the depth of the yoke within reason, which determined how much space I had for these things and what I could do here. Because I had more stuff in here too that I had to take out, because otherwise the yoke would have been down to your elbows. So grading and designing are not separate steps of creating a sweater pattern. They are all the same thing. You can't do one without another, in my opinion. Maybe some of my fellow designers will disagree very strongly with me, but I feel that grading is, the whole grading process is a design exercise. It's not just math. The whole thing is design. And a little bit of math. But it's not very hard math, to be honest. But I'm a former accountant, so I'm used to spreadsheets, so it's easier for me. So let's talk a little bit, grading rant, let's talk a little bit about knitting with unspun yarn. It's getting a little bit dark, so I'm sorry if I'm grainy, but yeah, the sun's already down. Oh dear, I better do this fast or I will look terrible. So knitting with unspun yarn is not at all hard. If I took this plate here and just dropped it and put stress on this long strand, it would break in an instant. However, when I'm knitting, here's all my ends right here. When I'm knitting, oops, need to grab a little bit more. When you're knitting, it's not that, you can't really see, it's not that long of a piece. You know, it's an inch or so that you're tensioning between the fabric and your finger. So that's not enough. I can do it like this. That's not enough distance to stress it too much. So you can knit just like normal, just like you would with a normal yarn, with this unspun yarn. The thing that gets you is when you're pulling like a long distance. If I pulled this at all, it would just break and come apart. So you have to be really careful when you're moving your yarn and when you're unwinding. So I'm a little bit finicky about this. I don't knit this whilst I'm sitting with my children or we're doing school. This is quiet time knitting because they've broken my yarn just by jumping on my lap. So I'll just do it when I'm got some space to set my plates down, and then you just very gently unwind a new little piece. You don't want to pull on it because that will break. And then you can knit. And I don't undo too much usually because I don't want to have it everywhere. But it's quite simple to knit with. It's not intimidating at all. And then if you don't want to knit with unspun yarn, you could just use a worsted weight yarn, any worsted weight yarn that you would rather use. So you have options if you don't want to use the unspun. I made sure that it was at a reasonable worsted weight gauge so that you could, oh, I lost it again. So you could just knit it with worsted weight yarn. So that is going to be it for me because I think that I'm probably really grainy right now because it's dark. So I'm going to go and try to get a little bit of work done before my kids come home from Grandma's house. And Aiden is having a great time by himself. So please do sign up for my email newsletter so that you can be the first to know when Alder comes out. At least he was quiet most of the time. Fairly quiet. So that you can hear when Alder is released and all the other patterns too. When Winter Woods is released. This shawl is not coming out till March. So this will be in a week. Winter Woods will be in February. The shawl will be in March. I have other things that I'm releasing in there too. So there's a lot of really nice stuff coming out over the next 4 or 5 months. So make sure you sign up for my email newsletter and buy a pattern so I can build a sheep barn. And please do subscribe to my channel and like this video because that makes my YouTube channel do much better. And until next time, happy knitting. Bye.